you dragging me?
Because I have your brother not running, my brother running. I have.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another edition of Focus on Liberia. This is Between the Headlines. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In today's edition of Between the Headlines, this is a continuation of part two of the Henry Costa press conference. Today, we're going to get an unofficial response from a Boakai supporter to the press conference. But before we get to that point and introduce our panelists tonight, let me play you a recording from the son of the former Vice President, Jojo Boakai.
Actually, I was doing a much longer recording and I just changed my mind. I'll say this to you all. At no time in that meeting did the Omen offer those people anything in terms of concessions, in terms of Wologisi, nothing. The Omen only said to them, if you are business people and your support is contingent on my winning and what happens afterwards, then you bring your business interest and we talk about it. There were no specifics placed forward. Because that's what they are. They're business people. They're not going to come and support. So for it to be that and the Omen was surprised, like, how can your support be based only on the idea of me taking Henry as my running mate? Not on any business proposition. You haven't even indicated what sector you're interested in. Nothing. So the Omen put no concessions on the table. I know I was in Ghana, number one. Number two, yes, Henry called very disappointed after the conversation, after the Omen turned down the conversation. 2 hours, he made us sit on the phone and listen to him go through an entire diatribe about his prophecy and everything else. And again, the Omen said clearly, Henry, we have partners, we have other political alliances and so on. It would have been completely wrong of me to go ahead and accept that proposition, and I don't think you're ready. And the Omen asked each and every one of us on the call to weigh in. Myself, Mrs. Tamba, Mr. Johnny, everybody weighed in, and we all said it. Henry, you are not ready. Henry ended that call and said the only thing he wanted was for him to find a way to access the money and so on. Bro, accessing the money is one thing. What was at stake? Completely splitting the opposition? Because if that conversation had gotten out there to say, oh, the Omen is considering Henry, and like that was he tried to push. But the reason he couldn't push was because the Omen said a clear no, one. Number two, you really believe that the Omen and Costa had a conversation where he said to Costa that I'm not going to pick Yombly, I'm not going to pick Jeremiah Kuhn. I did not know who my Omen was picking until the day before he announced his pick. You think he actually told Henry Costa he was not going to pick those two people and then went back and picked Jeremiah Kuhn? But I picked Jeremiah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Let me introduce a supporter of Boakai, or a supporter of Mr. Joseph Newman Boakai, who is a presidential candidate, Mr. P. Maurice Kroma, the perfect manager. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Dennis. It's good to be here.
Thank you. Also want to welcome to this discussion the progenitor of the MAV African Genius Project. He's also a big brother of Henry Pedro Costa, Mr. Kalevo Gonglo. Mr. Gonglo, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. My pleasure.
We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is Focus on Labrador Between the Headlines, and we're going to get our we're going to be discussing the press conference yesterday and get what are the thought processes of the Boakai people. We also know that Mr. Boakai put up a statement saying, "I forgive my son Costa," and in other words, he has no pleasure in going back and forth with him. He just forgave him and welcome him back and say they are open to working with all Liberians in process of rescuing the country. So that was let me also welcome another supporter of JNB, Mr. Anthony V. Kessley. Mr. Kessley, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for the delay.
Thank you. We want you to adjust your phone little. I don't want to cause more trouble for you. But if you can bend it on us, yeah. But before you do that, you have to put it in the rotate mode before you do that. So we can have a perfect view. Yeah.
How do you want it? What position?
Let me say that again.
What position did you want it in?
Right, I want it sideways, but before you do that, you have to go to your settings and put it on auto rotate.
Okay, I hope it doesn't kick me out again. Hold on.
All right. We hope it does not kick you out again. Well, so let's start here while Mr. Kessley gets that fixed. Let me give the first 3 minutes to Mr. P. Maurice Kroma to respond to what Henry Costa said. And I want to list for you some of the things that were mentioned in that report or in that press conference. One of those was the CPP issue where Mr. Benina Uri sued Alexander Cummings for tampering with the framework document. The formation of the DAL has a strategy in case President Ellen or the former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf does something that will make Mr. Boakai ineligible to run. Also talk about the terrible, what he referred to as the terrible money problem of JNB. Perfect, Mr. You got this. Also the $30 million deal, the attendees at the conference, that JMB, that Jojo, that Louis Tamba, and Talia Ure and all that. Costa referred to that 30 million has a golden opportunity. He also talked about the scheduled triple bypass open heart surgery of Mr. Boakai. And Costa, talking about the money problems of JNB, raise money to be able to transport and do other things. So those are the things, Mr. Kessley, let me welcome you again. What I want to, in a public manner, give Mr. Kessley, first of all, this is, I want to say that Mr. Kessley, most of the time we stand on different sides of the political discussions, but I want to salute Mr. Kessley. For the past 40 years or more, he has been in the front line of advocacy, politics, and doing things. And actually, what I really liked that he did was his community activities. When he worked with ULAM, we used to butt heads, but the guy can work. He got his hands dirty. He will carry the chairs. He will do. I'm like, Kessley, where you getting from this? So, Mr. Kesseley, tonight I just want to salute you. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Very much appreciated. I'm humbled.
Thank you.
I think you didn't introduce him completely, though.
Mr. Kesseley is a JNB supporter.
He's a political advisor also.
All right. He worked with as political advisor under Vice President Joseph Newman Boakai, and he was nicknamed Mr. Policy. But we hope he come back. But let's start the show with Mr. Maurice Krumah giving us a 3 minutes, at most 3 minutes response to the ALP press conference. Mr. Krumah.
Dennis, I don't need 3 months. I don't need 3 minutes to actually talk about the Costa press conference, because the more we talk about this conference, with this Costa press conference, we are giving it currency. Clearly, from start to end, you hear an angry man rambling emotionally about everything that he said he has experienced. He talked about his, how he's gotten beaten, and somebody have described him all type of names, and people have been attacking him. He made the press conference more about him than he even made it about the All Liberian Party, the ALP, which is, one of the smallest parties we have in the country by all margins. In 2017, they got 25,000 votes, less than 25,000. Let me be clear. They got less than 25,000 votes, 1.5% of the total votes of, across the country. So for me to sit and waste my time talking about someone who used the Liberian media space just to regurgitate an emotional experience he had with some of the political actors in the country is sad. I mean, I'm not gonna waste my time talking about all the things that he talked about. To talk about the Omen Health, I'm not gonna waste my time talking about it. Clearly, some of the inconsistency in his press conference, we can talk about all of the inconsistencies. He talked about how initially they supported the Omen because they believe as a political institution that the Omen is the right. He didn't say it was. He said is the right choice for Liberia. And then some point in that conversation, you come back and then renege on that same commitment you made initially to say this man is the right choice for Liberia. But because of my personal political agenda or our political agenda, the 25,000 people, we believe that because this man is not treating us the way he's treating us, so we take our own path and we'll move from behind, and he got money issues and he's desperate. They've said all the negative things they've been able to say about Omen Boakai. But at this point, clearly we can see that Labrampo are resolved. You can say all the things you want to say at this point, Labrampo are resolved. To be honest, I'm not going to waste my time talking about some of the things Costa said. It's a waste of time. A man who sits in Delaware that is not working, talk about buying, business class ticket for the Omen and buying economic class ticket for someone to fly from Liberia into Minnesota, and he bought himself a ticket. Where all this money coming from? If it's not under some kind of dubious means that you are raising these funds and using somebody from, or Spoon TV to get money from there and pass it to funnel to show that you're doing something, then clearly something is wrong. I mean, this man doesn't have any integrity to be talking about the things that he talked about. Clearly, I don't need 3 minutes for it. It's a waste of time.
Thank you. Let's turn to Mr. Anthony Kesseley. Mr. Kesseley, I hope your troubles with the connections are over. Oh no.
Yeah, there's something like connection with my baby.
Mr. Gonglo I'll be assigning you with Mr. Kesseley tomorrow.
Every time Kezo coming, he always having this issue with
connection. Mr. Gonglo, I want to get your opening to maybe a response to the response.
Well, I'm shocked that Maurice said there is no need to talk about some of the issues Costa raised. It's not the first time Maurice has a clear position on how he views Costa, and by extension, Eugene Fagon and some of the talk show hosts in Liberia. I think he has a position on that. Not publicly, but
that's a fact. That's a fact. Yes, I do have a position on that.
Not publicly, but in confidence conversation between both of us. And I get to know that, and I get some of his concern. But here, what I would say, Liberia is an interesting country. Maurice, the reason why this dialogue is very important, irrespective of who is putting it out there, irrespective of the credibility of the person who is raising it, is because of what is at stake. We are going to election that anyone who needs certificate to participate in the process, there is a 50% chance they can win. Some who don't know the voters' mind, who don't know when they get in the voting booth what they're going to do, who don't know it, the God knows. We can treat every information as important. Here is what I think for me is important. We talk about irrespective of who it comes from. Because Liberia is a very corrupt, it's a very troubled nation. Fact, and Morris agree with this. Liberia is a very troubled nation. Why is it trouble? Because of a chronic culture of corruption in the country. So if we have someone who is trying to take over a country under the guise of arrest, I don't know what that arrest means, whether it covers corruption or it encompasses transparency and accountability, I don't know. Someone who is trying to take over the country, and you are accused of trying to receive foreign bribe. Basically, this was a bribe. I mean, we don't, wherever we put it. There was according to Joseph Boakai Jr., the audio you played earlier, he said these were business people because he met them. He called them business people. Okay, so these were foreign business people actually trying to meddle in our election. And I don't know now if Boakai reflect whether going to that meeting, he regret going to that meeting, or you do the same thing over. So it's important. Was he trying to get bribe, to get purchased by a foreign company? The verdict is out there, and I hope you can speak to that. And the reason why this is important, Maurice, there is a pattern. Ambassador Boakai and Ellis Coming met in Ghana. Sometime, I believe last year or earlier last year, in an attempt, again, under the same dubious circumstance, that he was going to receive some pay-for-play money to drop out of the race. Honorable Boakai and Alexander Cummings, both of them have remained tacit on that information. They have refused to talk to the public on that. Reason, I don't know. But GMB supporters have said, oh, Alex Cummings called them and offered $5 million to them, and they rejected him. That is GMB supporters' account. Alexander Cummings supporters' account is that they went to Ghana, JMB asked for $15 million. Alex said it's too much, he can't make it. Between the two statements, I don't know which one is true, because Alexander Cummings refused to speak to the truth of what happened. Boakai refused to speak to the truth of what happened. But these two guys, Alexander
so
Cummings,
how are you measuring the truth in this case now? You're talking about truth. What, so how do you measure the truth in this? If one party say this and another party say
complete. We'll come to that. Let me complete. And Mr. Galabo and also Mr. Kessley can come in.
Okay.
Oh, he's going to be on audio? So Morris, I'm saying between the two, we don't know, because the principal actors have refused to speak. And the critical element is Honorable Boakai has 42 years public service experience. He served as vice president for 12 years. Alexander Cummings is a former corporate executive. They will go to a meeting and both of them don't take notes. At the end of the meeting, they don't release a transcript of that meeting, even not publicly. They should have it in an archive. They don't have it. And it will lend itself to what? Propaganda or rumors. The same thing happened just recently in Ghana. Honorable Boakai will meet a business people, according to, at least we know now that business people, because Joseph Boakai Jr. confirmed that there is no transcript out of that meeting. What Joe Boakai Jr. spoke to today is his account. And we know we are human beings. There is potential for memory loss. So for me, this is concerning Morris, and I think we should talk about that. And I think Ambassador Boakai should speak to the nation on that. If we have a president, Ambassador Owia, who does not speak to the nation, and we have somebody who wants to replace him and also refusing to speak to the nation, that's chaos.
Yeah, so Kelebo, unfortunately, some of the things that
Thank you. Since your audio is hold on, Morris. I want Mr. Kessler to give his opening or his response to the press conference yesterday. Mr. Kessler, are you there? He's joining us through audio.
Yes, I'm here, man. I can tell you very frustrated over these gadgets. So I have just got bits and pieces of what Morris contributed,
Right.
and now I'm hearing parts of what Gonglo is.
Your first statement is just a response to what you heard yesterday.
Okay. Number one, I feel the press conference yesterday was a disservice to no one but Mr. Costa himself. And in the coming days, weeks, and months, he will realize that. I didn't think he should have gone along with it. There are many parts of his quote-unquote revelations that we will be discussing as we go down the road tonight. As someone who is positioned in the proximity of former Vice President Boakai, and lots of the interactions that happen here in the States, and what I heard was happening in Monrovia following the return of the former VP, I saw total dishonesty in doctored narrative given by Mr. Costa. He cleverly omitted certain areas, embellished others, and some of them are basically you say, I say, he say. But when someone tells you, we talk this on the phone, we talk that over there, that's left with who is listening and who you want to believe. So the statement in total, my reaction is that it is very unfortunate that Liberia has reached a portion where somebody who insulted pretty much every leader issues for corruption, for this failure to follow rule of law, this and that, to sit, I don't know whether it was proudly, but with a straight face and be talking about a bribery he received without Ambassador Boakai being involved. Ambassador Boakai totally innocent. Ambassador Boakai did not send him to go look for investors, but he said investors came to him with this bribe to tell him that they will give that to him to run. And instead of saying, depart from me, these are not things I engage in, and so far, says that the money, according to him, should be instead passed on to Ambassador Boakai. And they could say, oh, no, but then you have to run with him. And he concedes to that. This is criminal activity right there that the man sits and discusses. And he's very proud to reveal those things. But, I mean, to me, it did not cause much damage to Ambassador Boakai or the UP. As you can see in all the expressions, overwhelming number of expressions, it is the usual anti-Boakai folks and detractors who are all over Facebook, the worried ANC people and the CDC people who have been busy at this work of trying to diminish former Vice Boakai. They have no new recruits. I feel that the whole recording is a disaster for Mr. Costa, and his next steps will teach him that he didn't serve himself well. So I want to stay right there and we go into the nitty-gritty of various parts of the press conference.
So before I let you go on this one, Honorable Boakai gave a full response, or the Unity Party gave a full response. What he gave here It's like I forgive him. Is that enough?
Basically, if you listen keenly to my response or my comment or my take on the press conference, I'm telling you that it is not worthwhile. It did not cause any damage. What is there? Oh, the man said he will give Wologizi. Who hasn't heard Wologizi's story? I went with Ambassador Boakai to India and we visited the Jinda plant. Before we came, they said he was selling Wologizi. This is not new story or that people like to throw, and the people who buy such stories are people who either are on board with the mischief and the anti-Boakai crusade, because no president goes somewhere and says, look, I will give you Wologizi. And the investors are so unsophisticated and take $30 million and say they want to give that. So my thought is that, hey, I don't think there is any need to dignify it, because as soon as Unity Party or Ambassador Boakai comes to give a clear picture, then you have revived Mr. Costa to come back and get on the stage. Now he's fighting Boakai. I will warn, I don't know what the party will decide or what Ambassador Boakai will decide, but I think it will be counterproductive to follow something that is of no consequence.
Thank you.
Thank you. May I ask Kezo, is it possible?
This is what, listen, I'm here today. I won't be here for Kelebo to just be jumping every point. I always watch your show. He has to comment on everything. If he's going to do that, I'm not afraid we should be giving the liberty at any time to jump in.
All right. Mr. Kelebo, I will come to you. Let me go to Morris first.
Can I ask you? You my people.
No, hold on. When you have the opportunity to speak, you can put it in the form of question. But let me go to Morris first, because I hope you remember that Mr. Costa was a very close confidant of Mr. Boakai for a period of time, especially when he's in the States. The way you are dismissing him now makes me to ask, what was Mr. Boakai doing with Costa in the first place? If whatever he says is so trivial, it's so insignificant.
So Dennis, go ahead. I mean, President, if you want to answer, I'll give you.
Morris, then you can.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead, Morris.
In any kind of political competition, Dennis, there is always the idea of expanding the tent. You have to have multiple people, multiple ideas to expand your tent, because ideally political elections are essentially based on numbers. It's a number game. You have to be able to wield and convince people from different, political persuasions, people from different religious, ethnic, influence to be able to get the national national numbers that you're trying to achieve. So nobody is doubting the efforts of Henry Costa and the relationship he had with JMB. Nobody is doubting that. What we're doubting is his action yesterday. If we look at the press conference yesterday, he himself, in an attempt to justify that he is actually someone of integrity and someone of this someone with so much credibility, he comes to a press conference and tries to dismiss everything and all of the work that he has done personally. I must give him some credit for the work that he has done. But he himself dismissed everything from me in the press conference. He dismissed it and ignored the relationship that he had in the past, only because, in my opinion, he was trying to score some kind of political point and gain some kind of sympathy from people across the country and people that are online. Unfortunately, like my big brother Kazuz just said, that thing turned around on him. And now his credibility, he has to fight now to prove that the things that he said actually make sense and he can prove it. Unfortunately, the burden is on him. That he has to prove that everything he said, that those are facts. I mean,
I don't know if I heard your answer correctly. I'm saying this man with little or no credibility, what was Mr. Boakai doing with him in the first place?
You want me to contribute?
I didn't dismiss that. You hear how I responded to it?
I said I didn't get your answer clearly. If you can just summarize
Yes.
that.
I want to
I
contribute.
will allow Kezo to go because I can't
all
go
right.
back and start repeating everything that I just said.
I
Okay,
don't
that's
know.
fine.
I actually, am I on?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I
Yes, you
don't
are.
know
We're hearing you.
why you would ever ask such a question.
Ooh.
Yes, because when I start dealing with Mr. Dennis Jar, I got no divine powers to know. Costa did not come to JMB as a discredited, a this, a that person. He was a political firebrand running his show and attacking Joseph Boakai. He decided that he mistook his target and he thought this was who Ellen, and Ellen was trying to shoe in Ambassador Boakai. So he was fighting. But now that he realizes the distinction, he's coming. What kind of reasonable, decent person will not embrace? Or to say, oh no, you are indecent. You have to come like Ambassador Boakai does to everyone. You have to come and prove yourself to him. And Costa was embraced. The night before the day Costa announced his endorsement of Ambassador Boakai, there were only 3 persons in the room. Former Vice President Joseph Boakai, Henry Pedro Costa, and Anthony V. Kessel. And we talk, we know what we talk, and I'm not suggesting any financial transactions here before people go impute. But he wanted to know what are the thoughts of Ambassador Boakai, and it was a long, pleasant interview and discussion. So he was embraced. And we'll get to that. I have had my problems, and I have records of it about some utterances on platforms, particularly against leaders. Whether it is George Weah, Samuel Doe, this and that, I don't believe from my culture that you should publicly come and curse a leader. And Costa knows how many times we have had exchanges on that. I have text messages. There are other direct conversations we've had. So he went on. So until he proved himself, so he stayed within the bounds as we were going, even though everybody will jump here, and later settle down. But he was a fighter for Ambassador Boakai, an effective one. We all are not here to demean Costa. I'm just shocked, and I advise him as an older brother every time, Costa, you are rising. The platform you have, we didn't have it. Under military dictatorship, we couldn't have it. It can bring you down or it can take you up. You are too young. I have advised him many times. He can refute me. Some of them are written. And so now that he takes this decision, you cannot go back and blame Ambassador Boakai, alleging that why he took him in the first place. He came and he proved himself, shocking to all of us, because the vice presidency came from some part of heaven, I don't know, because none of us expected it, you know. So you cannot blame Ambassador Boakai for accepting he was this, he was that, he was this. Imagine that 6 or almost 7 years ago that this man joined the bandwagon of Boakai. And right now he's collapsing, you know. So Boakai did not have any magical powers to judge him instantly and dismiss him. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gonglo, I know you wanted to say something.
You know, I listen to Kezo, Mr. Kesteli, and Morris. I'm actually totally confused. I don't know what they're doing here. They should really leave the show now. Because I'm hearing from them that the press conference doesn't worth the paper that was written on it. There's no need to comment on it because the election is about number. Liberian people have decided. And I mean, in fact, according to Mr. Kesteli, is not taking a single vote away from Boakai. On one hand, he said Costa was an effective surrogate because he has a platform that they have. Morris has a long-standing disdain of many talk show hosts. In fact, that was his opening statement, that there was no need to talk that. So I don't know what are they doing here, because by them being on the show, they are actually giving credence and currency and relevance to that press conference. So I want to register that. And the second thing is, Mr. Cassidy said he doesn't think anybody should react to that, and Boakai response was appropriate, that he's forgiving, that his son. But what will he say? Joe Boakai Jr. is beginning to speak. He was the one that attended the meeting. Mr. Kesely, Mr. Kromai did not attend our meeting, even though they are Boakai supporters. They didn't attend our meeting. So we are sharing our opinion here tonight based on different pieces that we know in Liberian current events. But so I'm a little confused on what really are they doing here? What is their position?
I want to answer that.
Another time, Joe Boakai Jr. is speaking.
Let me go.
No, I can't hear with that thing. I mean, the people are listening. I want to answer that if I have the time.
Yeah, you answer. Kezo, I wish you have spoken to Joe Boakai Jr. not to speak.
I'm very happy he spoke.
Joe Boakai Jr. spoke the right way that he should have
nothing extra.
Everything he said.
So now you should react to Costa.
Go ahead.
So, but I will repeat myself on this. And this is what I said earlier. I'm going to go back to that because Morris did not address that. I know Kezo was making his opening statement. He also did not make comment on that. Liberia is a troubled nation. Ambassador Boakai have had 2 meetings in Ghana. And as a former vice president who still has civil servant in his employ that are paid, he travels with his entourage. Whether he chooses family members, like he did in this case, his son and other people to travel with him, that's none of my business. But to go into a meeting with foreign business partners, according to Joseph Boakai Jr., that these were business people, at least he confirmed that aspect of Costa's statement, that these were business people, okay? To go into a meeting with them, and Ambassador Boakai walked out of that meeting without a transcript. Now, we have heard Costa version. We have heard a little piece of Joe Boakai Jr. version. But the main version is to come from Ambassador Boakai. He needs to speak to this. Why is it important? He and Alexander Cummings met again in Ghana. No other country, not Sierra Leone, not Nigeria, but Ghana. Not anywhere in Ghana, but Accra, probably the same hotel. So Ambassador Boakai has affinity for having secret meeting in Ghana, and not walking out with a transcript. And if for me, for the 2 years of government experience, 12 years of vice president, you should know that how businesses are conducted. He should always have a reporter to walk away with transcript. Now, he walked away with Alexander Cummings, no transcript. We only know Alexander Cummings will say, Boakai say Alex must pay him $15 million in order to drop out of the race. Alexander Cummings will say, no, we told him we don't have money. Boakai people say, hey, they offer $5 million. We say we don't take bribe. So we don't know the truth. The truth is still out there because Ambassador Boakai and Alexander Cummings decided not to speak to Liberian people.
Thank you. Mr. Kessler, you wanted to answer, but I have a question. I want us to go back and start from the basis, right?
Well, he asked a specific question.
Yeah, please answer that. And then
what are we, Morris and I, doing here? My younger brother, Kelabo, I think you know party politics, political dynamics, and so forth. When we say there should be no response, that doesn't mean a gag order on every citizen. That means the party officially, the standard bearer officially, should not give credence. We didn't say when Kelabo is distorting in one corner on the platform, or Kesselly is giving a biased side story one corner, nobody should speak. So we can speak freely, and you've been seeing me speaking on Facebook all day, all night. Okay, so we have every right to be here. I'm here. I'm not speaking on behalf of Unity Party. I'm not a member, and I was not designated. That's why I saw the caption of this program, Unofficial. Okay, so that's the context in which we are here. What we express here are our personal opinions. What I call him, Jojo said, you know, I saw Costa post that video. I laughed. I didn't get tired. Since this thing broke out, who has come out to say no meeting ever took place? Who?
And we'll come to that meeting issue
Oh,
because that's
okay. I want to begin eating the meat. Sorry. But anyway,
yeah.
thank
All
you.
right. So let's start from the beginning because there are a lot of things that were put out there and we've not heard them before or in some different form. So I want your unofficial response. Number one, starting with the CPP issue. According to Henry Costa, when the issue, Mr. Boakai told them, say, hey, tell them to do something. No. The document is being tampered with, but because I'm the CDC, I'm the CPP chairman, and also the elderly statement, I can sue. So, and I'm paraphrasing, Ray, please do the dirty work. Is that a true statement? Did that happen?
I don't want to
love to
dominate
hear
here.
Caleb answer the question before we answer the question, but it's okay. Go ahead.
I don't want to dominate here.
Mara, go ahead.
I'm trying to contain Caleb so I can do what he does.
Like I said, Dennis, I would have loved to hear Caleb respond to this
Caleb,
particular question before.
Caleb, I did our mini debate. You know, my man, we talk all the time. I talk every time. So, you know, yeah.
Caleb also Morris, are you
answering the person?
Yeah. We hear someone start taking it, but I don't know if from you or Dennis.
So, Mr. Kasari, I will mute you every time you are not talking.
I think it's Kezo. I think it's coming from Kezo.
Okay.
Okay,
I mean,
go ahead.
Like I said, I would have loved to hear.
Is there any truth to this story?
You know, that's why I said I would have loved to hear Caleb's position on this before I answer. But I'm glad you brought this up because, I mean, think about this rationally. In the framework of institutional leadership, if I am the head of a collaborating political party, why would I delegate a pivotal issue about the collaborating political party that is bent on the institutional framework that guide these political institutions into one group? Why would I relegate that to an individual to say, okay, you take this thing here because I'm the elderly statesman, or because I'm the head of the collaborating political party, so you take this thing to court and let me sit down there and watch you guys? I mean, just think about it in the context of reasoning. All of us we are
and the reason people are giving is Mr. Boakai has a history of staying in the back and letting other people do it.
No, but Dennis,
that's his history. That's what I was told.
So if you, in this context of this CPP framework, you think is actually going to give Boakai some kind of credibility if he stays in the background and not take this thing head on, because there is deliberate. You say in your claims that the document was, there was somebody fingered the document, and if the Omer is the head of this organization that we are trying to put together, wouldn't it make sense for the Omer to say, okay, let's take this to the law and let the law take its course, because it demonstrates that he is a law and order head. He's going to be a law and order person when he becomes the head of the state, right? Why would he take the background? I mean, in any kind of reasoning, in anybody rational mind, it doesn't make sense at all. And I was really hoping to hear Caleb's position before I answer it, but you brought it up. So yeah, that would be my response. It does not require anybody, even a sixth grade student, will know that this thing here, it doesn't make sense at all. That because the CPP is a collection of political parties, somebody fingered the document. Then the head of the CPP at the moment said, no, I don't want to go to court. Let's find somebody that is inside this arrangement here. You tell me to court, and then I'll come support you in the back. It doesn't make any sense at all. But That's what Costa is saying.
But as head of the CPP, why did Mr. Boakai, why did he not, champion that? Oh, Mr. Kesselly, sorry.
That's so. My question is, why not?
Hold on, let me
That's the
clarify to
point that I'm
Mr.
making.
Kesselly. Mr. Kesselly, because of the static, anytime you are not speaking, please mute yourself. Or I can mute you when you're ready to speak. Just raise your hand.
Okay.
There's a static noise from the background.
Yeah, I don't know where it's coming from. It's coming from me. Is it coming from me?
It's okay now. I think it's okay now.
Yes, sir.
I keep hearing it.
Oh yeah, it's still there.
I think that's the
It's
device.
better. I don't know whether it's me, but at least
it's
that
okay.
is better. At least I'm still on screen.
You probably need to go to room 309 at the Royal Hotel and borrow some money.
I think so, but I need a plane ticket.
All right.
What about
now? I will talk to my business partner to get you a plane ticket.
We don't want business partner for you, Calebo.
Do I have the flow?
Yeah. Is it possible that you leave and come back in? The static is kind of too much.
Okay, can I contribute this and then just go out before?
No, you're not going out. Just go out and come back in. You want to, yeah.
You know what it takes for me to get in? Eh? All right. Yeah, I'm so afraid to get out. And isn't that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. I'm not hearing Calebo here.
Just talk, so just talk at least for this moment.
All right. So should I talk? Is it
yes, I talk.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mazu. Go ahead, Mazu.
A different angle. The comment, the derogatory comment that Costa made against Benoni Ure. This was a collaboration of 4 political leaders of 4 existing political parties that define themselves or position themselves as 4 co-equals. For Costa to come and reduce Benoni Ure to a puppet who is not acting on his own conviction, but it is the other political leader who tells him, I can't do it, you go do it. An errand boy to Ambassador Boakai. To me, I don't think Ure was very satisfied to hear that part. Because if Ure felt it was not appropriate, a person who ran to be president of the Republic of Liberia, he would have told Ambassador Boakai, look, this is not the right way we should go. But he just docilely followed instructions. Is that presidential material in our republic? But it's a culture in Liberia that Costa fell for. A lot of people will say, Ellen Justice Ellie is the one who gave money to Charles Taylor to come for a war. Then they made Charles Taylor like a minor who didn't know what he was doing, who was a kid. He couldn't refuse. He didn't know right from wrong. So the falseness in it came with the anger, the bitterness that Costa has to indict Joseph Boakai. So he lost his thought that somebody that's your party standard bearer or political leader. You say he was an errand boy to another party's political leader to do what he didn't believe in. So I just want to say that it tells you that
thank you.
There's no truth to it. And it's an insult to, this man who I think was convinced about what he was doing, and he will stand by it today. I don't think.
And while you are saying that, can you also comment on the DAL issue? Can you also comment on the DAL or respond? The DAL.
What?
the Democratic Alliance of Liberia under Alaro Tokwa?
I have not read that, really. I have not read it.
Right. So, according to Costa,
I don't know what time it came out.
Yeah, but Dennis, if the man made the claims about DAL and Alari Tokwa has endorsed the old man. So is that a contradiction to the position that the pronouncement that Costa made, or is
is it really what happened?
So Morris, that's not an issue, because one person will accept maybe something that may be distasteful to someone. It doesn't mean the person cannot talk about that, or it doesn't mean it didn't happen. So I think the discussion is to say the area that happened that way. Maybe Professor Larry Tokba didn't have a choice. He didn't have political alternative. He's backed himself. He said, well, you know what? I'm here now. I just got to go with it. But there is newspaper reference where New Deal movement chairman, I just forgot this fellow name, and Amos Toy went at each other. What Amos Toy said, Unity Party didn't need them. In fact, he said we don't need a progressive in that newspaper. I think it was in a New Down newspaper. Okay, they were in inter-political party committee at the RPC meeting at Elections Commission, and they were discussing different issues. New Deal movement chair and Amos Toy had that clash. So, and I don't want to go much more deeper, because some of the folks in the party and us do talk. We do know all the things that we can say here publicly on where Unity Party approach was when they left the CPP. They didn't want to go into any formal arrangement anymore. They said whoever wants Boakai should follow us. That was their approach.
Okay. But Kelebo, so if you were claiming that the Unity Party left the CPP because they didn't want to go into any arrangement, how come now we have all of these other political parties that have followed the Unity Party?
But the arrangement they have is not a legal arrangement, though, because it's not an arrangement. It's not an arrangement that is registered and recognized under NEC provision. No.
But I don't understand the point. What's the point of the argument then? What are you arguing?
Yeah, Morris, here's the point, right?
It's an argument. I know you don't see anything wrong with Egypt, but that's fine.
No. I'm trying to understand it. I'm just trying to get you to put, because I can't understand why you're arguing that the Unity Party, okay, the CPP did not work. The Unity Party left the CPP. Did you want the Unity Party to go back and say, okay, we're forming a new collaborating political party? Is that what the argument you're making?
But that is the allegation Costa made in the press. That one of the allegations he made in the press conference.
So I'm saying to you that even though there's no CPP or no collaborating political party framework around the Unity Party, there are other political parties that have joined the Unity Party to make sure that Ambassador Boakai is elected president. Well, and this is not because not entirely because of what happened within the CPP, but because they know that the Omen has what it takes to unseat these people that are stealing and ripping the country apart.
So Morris, you see it from this context. Here is the context. The context is Henry, in his press conference, he feels that ALP was used by Ambassador Boakai. Here is the narrative he gave. He said Ambassador Boakai went to Ben Yure and said, Ben, I fear LM Johnson Selly. I get the sense that LM Johnson Selly is out to get me. I don't know what her strategies would be. So I want you to work on an alternative vehicle that if it becomes necessary that I have to abandon the Unity Party, I can go into that arrangement. He said that is written down in his transcript. That it was on that basis Benana Yure went to Professor Larry Tokba and said, let's organize. And Larry Tokba came up with that name. I'm not too sure. He didn't say whether it was Benana Yure that gave the name Democratic Alliance of Liberia or it was Larry Tokba. But he said that. And for the record, we all watched a live Facebook footage where parties were going there making aspirational ascension to the document. They signed that we agreed to be member of the Democratic Alliance, even proposed political party, because I know the economic freedom fighter of Imaya Gwankoi was there. It was one of those that signed. I know Yomri Kanga was there, and she also signed on behalf of the Liberty Party. Okay, they did that somewhere, I think, at the New Deal Movement office. Okay, now that DAL did not get recognized by NEC. The 5 people at NEC, they did not follow through. The story is Unity Party walked away from that they did not want another arrangement. But the idea came from Boakai to Uri, and Uri funded that process. So Professor Alaritukpa may have to speak to this. So it's not about whether Alaritukpa has endorsed Boakai or not. It's about where the truth lies. Did Ambassador Boakai use a long hand, to do this and kept himself secret? Like on the CPP thing.
So my argument still is that one of the players that Costa specifically mentioned about the DAL is Professor Alaritukpa.
Yeah,
correct?
Yes.
Okay. So one of that players now is still alive. He's not dead, he's alive. And I'm saying to you, this player that he mentioned as the person who was leading this effort to establish this DAL is the same person that I've said publicly that he is in the Joseph Boakai rescue train that is going to unseat Josh Weah. So why now the onus is on you now, who believe somehow what Costa have accounted and said this is the story, is on you and Dennis to say, okay, let's get this living body of Professor Tupac come explain to us.
Before we get the living body, and Mr. Casale, you can unmute yourself. Just press the mute button. You are able to unmute yourself. Before we get the living body of Mr. Alaritukpa,
yes.
Yeah, I don't know about the professor listening. That's why I just keep it simple.
Oh, Kelebo, let me challenge our professor.
Kelebo. I don't know that. I don't know that. Right. So before we do that, we want to ascertain from you as someone who supports DNB, because these are things you say, well, what happened was we proposed the DAL and he honored and he was convinced, and he named names. He was convinced by Kofi Woods and all these people to have Brandon Samuka to have an alternative alliance, right? Is this very true?
Yeah.
Because just like a Boakai responded, you are saying, hey, the man who was part of the alliance still endorsed it. That's really not the point.
That's not the point, Morris. Morris, I can give you one example.
In my own sense of reasoning, you have the person that is alive, and the person said that I'm in the GMB camp, and the person is the one that Costa is accusing. As far as we know, as far as you, myself, and Kelebo knows, there's nothing called the Democratic Alliance that is recognized by the National Election Commission, correct?
Why did it break down? Why did that break down?
That answer, I don't have it. I don't have that answer. What I can tell you
is giving you the answer.
Is that no. So that's what you want to hear. You want to hear what Costa said. That Professor Alaritukpa is the one that led this process here. But I am saying the person is alive. So why not go and get the actual? But I know that the person is in the DMB camp. So you go and get the person and say, okay, this is what Costa said. Is your word against Costa's word?
Thank you. I know we're
will not be fair.
Morris, I'm about to leave.
Hold on, Mr. Gonglo. I wanted to talk about the 30 million before you leave.
I have to.
We got to talk about the 30 million, right? 30 million.
Gonglo, you want to talk about that particular 30 million? You want to talk
about I did say that from the beginning of the show.
Right, but then
9 o'clock for teleconference. It's already 9:20. And I need
all right, Mr. Gonglo, we want to continue.
Yeah, now Councillor Gonglo team is not one of those teams that business people can meet. So
there must be a distraction.
All right, the 30 million, right? I think Jojo and other people have corroborated that indeed Mr. Boakai went into a meeting where a $30 million deal was on the table. What was Mr. Boakai doing in that meeting?
You asking me?
Oh, Mr. Kessley.
So, I mean,
hello.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Dennis, let me just bring this technical issue to your attention. It keeps telling me the host has muted you. When unmute, it mutes me back. I don't know what's happening.
Dennis
It keeps
is
saying
trying to keep you quiet
the
now.
host, it tells me now. Okay, thank God it's open now. I don't know whether that question comes in the wake of you really listening to the chronology of events provided by Mr. Costa. Okay, Mr. Costa said, and let me make this clarification because everybody says, why is Joseph Boakai sending Costa to go for money and this and that? Then those people didn't listen to Costa's own explanation.
Right.
Mr. Costa's statement does not say that Joseph Boakai sent him or sent him.
That's not. He was invited to a meeting where
I'm
reading
a lot of things. When I'm speaking, I'm speaking for a larger audience. People have it all around that he uses Costa. You will recall that Costa said, Costa's explanation goes like this. Omer Boakai had no knowledge, absolutely, of this. He didn't ask Costa to go look for anybody to bring money. In fact, the so-called investors might have evaluated the political landscape and decided that, that Costa will deal with. For whatever reason, I've asked that question many places. Maybe because he's handsome, he's tall, or what? Because it cannot be a political calculation that Costa will be the president. Unless those investors are just so unsophisticated and don't know the country that is under discussion. Otherwise, they wouldn't offer 30 million. In fact, Costa didn't give out many places. Costa omitted. Costa's point was that it was 60 million. The first 30 million was supposed to be from Russians. Then later they had Chinese. Then we started later hearing, and these are people associated with him. He was not disclosing anything to us. Later, they were talking about going to Bahrain. Okay, so we were not at the center of it, but we are so entrenched in the Joseph Boakai camp, even in family, certain things will get to us. So he tells this man that you're on your way back to Liberia, but these people want to meet you, and so far and so forth. What is Omer Boakai to say, oh no, I'm not going? He didn't tell people you'll come to Ghana or you're not going to look for money. He was told that there were people who had an offer. Whatever the nature is, whether it was in return for something, whether this and that, in my traditional parable, they say, you don't reject a call. What's in the call is what you reject. You see? And he has said all around that he will talk to anybody. He will talk to people, opposition, and this and that. So,
do you know
one wants to fault him for being in the meeting. I think we should talk about, okay, he went to the meeting now. What did he do? I think that's more important than the act of going. You go to find out what is it by yourself. So that you can get.
Mr. Cassano, let's situate this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this was not the first time, according to what Costa said, that Mr. Boakai was. Hold on, Mr. I'm going to mute you so that the starter will go down while I'm talking. So this was not a. Hold on, Mr. Cassidy, I'm muting you so that the static will be better. So this was not the first time Mr. Boakai was hearing about this 30 million, according to what we heard. He's been briefed that these people want to give me 30 million, but instead, Mr. Costa did not say it was wrong for him to be bribed. Let me put it that way. He thought that was a golden opportunity that these investors or his partners come and give him 30 million in order to run for president. He turned that down and he said, instead, divert this to Mr. Boakai. So based on that, we know that Mr. Boakai was already aware of what the $30 million was for. Yet he agreed to go into this meeting for further discussion. And according to Costa, the expenses were not paid by Mr. Boakai himself. So he started something that resembled pay to play. He probably started benefiting from that already. Go ahead, Mr. Go ahead, Mr.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Have you unmuted me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay.
Now I'm quiet. It's not Kezo talking. I'm sure
no. You threw a lot of bombs earlier. You talked lengthily. I was listening. I was catching up. But listen, the word I hate people are saying the cost of people, those who today have suddenly become believers in Costa, who yesterday would have beheaded Costa if they came around him in an isolated place, who have become, they say he rejected it. He never rejected anything.
No, he did not.
He never, that is not what we call reject. He accepted it and said, instead, let's use it this way. Okay? Costa never rejected anything. If the 30 million was there, if it fell from the sky and they gave it to Joseph Boakai and Joseph Boakai picked him, he would have been in the middle of the utilization of the 30 million. So he didn't reject anything. People
That's true.
Start crediting him with all kind of thing. So now, that order he said, you say, I say, Joseph Boakai went behind them and told them, you give me A, why you can't forget about Costa, and so you can get to me, I will get your Warlord Gizi. You told me we'll come to the funny Warlord Gizi aspect of it. Right. I see no wrong done by Joseph Boakai. Joseph Boakai will not reduce himself to can say he sat and there. So okay, give me the money, I'll get your Warlord Gizi. That's childish for anybody to listen to. Which tells you how empty-handed the anti-Boakai campaign is taking hang or something like that. Oh, our mountain has been so, this and that, they posting it all over. Childishly. That is not how.
Don't respond to my question. Don't respond to them.
And I listen. No, we are speaking generally here now. He went to the meeting. He didn't tell anybody, you'll give me anything, let me get your. But you see, they made the investors, the quote-unquote investors, to be dummies who didn't have senses, who could not calculate, who were not sophisticated. Firstly, they gave 30 million for Costa to run. Whoever did the analysis that Costa has chances for presidency in Nigeria that you can put 30 million into tells you enough about who these investors were. All four of us on this team know that Costa is a long, very long shot away from even someone picking him as vice president, not to even talk about president. That is common knowledge. So he can go for it, but he's right, but he will not get it. So for investors to bring 30 million to him, and they say, okay, I accept it, it's a good idea, but I will give people one other story of come to this if I have to. I don't want to dominate the whole place because I wanted to bring an analogy because these.
Thank you, Mr. Kesali. You have another check. So Maurice, before I get to Calebo, knowing very well what was in the package, what was Mr. Boakai doing there? And there's also this rumor that maybe CDC was behind it. Since he was there, has he been able to identify who are the investors? Were they CDC or
Morris doesn't know?
Calebo, let me say Calebo. Dennis, you're asking questions that we're supposed to be asking Henry Costa.
No.
Who has made all these?
Mr. Boakai was in the meeting.
Or Joseph Boakai Jr.
Yeah, but okay, so even we're in the meeting, but he's making all these wild allegations that have.
But Mr. Boakai did not deny going to the meeting, right?
No. So
who did he meet at the meeting? Do you know?
Like Kezo indicated, the Oman was on his way back from the US and he transited into Ghana and he had a meeting and he moved to Liberia. Whatever those investors are, this man who made the claim should be able to tell who those investors are and what their interests were. when he talked about how he's supposed to.
Who you think were the investors?
I don't know. I don't know them. We should be asking Henry Costa. All of us should be asking Henry Costa who the investors are and why. Because he, according to him,
I think it's unfair to say just ask.
no,
Costa.
Calabo,
The meeting. Joe Baca Jr., Joe Baca himself, one other Tama, they should be asked.
Okay. So according to Henry Costa,
meeting.
so according to Henry Costa, he had an initial meeting with them in room 309 at Royal Hotel, correct? So it was a follow-up meeting that's supposed to happen in Ghana, right?
That happened in Ghana.
That happened in Ghana, allegedly, because we don't know all the facts around it.
Joe did not deny it. Jojo did not deny that. And even after the meeting, the call that Costa said he placed, Jojo corroborated that it was,
So, but so the fact that this man had a meeting with them in 309 and there was a meeting in Ghana, my assumption is that the man will know these investors more than even the Joseph Boakai old man that sat down in the meeting with them. Because there has to be some level of trust, of comfortability for you to say, okay, I'm bringing additional players to the table for us to have this negotiation. Even if I'm not there, this conversation can happen because that trust and comfort level has been established, right? At least in any kind of human reasoning.
That Mr. Boakai should talk about this to say, hey, because
not at all.
These are Liberians, right? From the government, the CDC is behind us. So can Mr. Boakai identify who he met with?
The OMEC should not speak about this particular thing because there's credibility issue around it. Completely. The man that has made these allegations.
Weigh in.
Okay.
Mr. Calabo. I mean, this is a situation where
Dennis, before I say
and let me add this other layer before you talk. That the people that went to the meeting, they were not Unity Party officials. These were maybe family members, right? Did that add another thing up because he was coming from a family trip, so the family members were there?
Well, I don't know. He has to speak to the press.
Who he? Costa or the woman?
Pastor Boakai.
Why?
I mean, he asking question about the people.
The burden is on the accuser. If you make a statement, the burden is always on you to prove your evidence.
No. Somebody told me that that's not code, right? That's public opinion. So
Morris, do not.
So how do you? So you're telling me that because it's not a code, so you can't take that burden and put it on the person. If I make a claim that Dennis is a Hame from the southeast, and so that burden, I should put that burden on Dennis, and I'll go and prove that Dennis has to come prove himself he's not a Hame. In intellectual space.
The Swift boat veteran. John Carroll who have said the burden of proof is on you. But go ahead, Calabo.
But here is what I was saying before I say anything. Morris, let us not lose sight of the fact that we are talking about a former vice president that is still on the taxpayer's salary. We still paying him. He owes a public explanation. Whenever he moves and acts, he's still a public figure. He wants to be the highest, occupy the highest office in Liberia. So
just for the record, let's be clear about this. He's not within the public domain anymore. He is a former vice president. That's true.
The study has gone down, so you can try and say something.
He gets reward. He gets reward.
You open me up.
But yeah, you just ask your question and not even talk, and you say cause
No, I just want to make sure.
I just want to correct. I just want to correct
Am I on now?
So very clear, President. Very clear.
Let me say this.
It's not good now, but let Calabo talk.
Yeah.
Okay. I decided to use the ear plug.
It's working.
So let me say this. First, before we came on here at 8 o'clock, I said I had a meeting at 9, and the meeting is on my other screen. The Zoom meeting is there. I'm muted myself. I'm listening to what it's saying there. But hear what I will say. So as I speak, this will be my parting comment, and I will log.
Oh my God! This is a flight.
I can leave the platform with the two UP brothers, they can fight each other.
Caleb, every day you stay on this platform until everybody goes. Then your big brother come now, you want leave me and go?
Never run away.
No,
Run away.
So I just
ask
kidding you.
Dennis.
But go to the
Dennis.
issue now. You say you don't have time.
Good.
So for
Go
me,
to your.
Let's do the 15 minutes, then you can leave. There's no 15
No, you must not leave.
No,
You
I'm
must
not
not
even
leave.
going.
You're
I
not
think we're
leaving.
missing the critical elements we're missing here. I think Henry raised a lot of issues. You know, usually it's in some of the culture, the political culture, among political activists in Liberia is usually that don't mind the person, man, or let's listen, man, let's move on. They are always dismissive when people raise issue of that borders on integrity or on other issues against their leader. The idea is let's move on. It has no impact.
Okay, itemize the issues so we can answer so you can go. Itemize them.
Hold on, Mr. Kazale. Let him talk.
Okay, I'll just suggest it. Sorry.
I'm not the moderator. I think the moderator has lists of issues that Costa raised. He has been asking since we started this show. He asked you on some of the issues you acted with. He asked Morris on some of the issues.
You go to your issue. Right? The moderator has stopped me.
Mr. Kazale, wait now.
But you have stopped me. I've kept quiet. And he's still there.
Mr. Calabo, go ahead. Hit the nail on the head.
So few things I'd like to clarify. I read some of the comments in the live feed, and I just want to speak to some of the people in the live feed before I move on to my parting comment. When I come on FOL or on the Costa show in the morning, I log in there as a panelist. When I go there, I don't decide which topic to discuss. The moderator decides because it is a show. It is a platform. It's not my platform. I will be happy to sit here and all that I say, any question that is asked me to say, here is a reason why you should elect Councillor Gongo. I can do that 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I can do that because I know so much about Liberian issues and I know so much about Councillor Gongo, why he's the best person to transform that troubled nation. I can talk about it. It's a good dialogue to have. But because this is Dennis Jar platform, he chooses what to talk. So I see
Calabo is still responding to my comment. Why he can't
I'm addressing some of the people. No, I'm coming.
You're not.
I'm responding to live feed, okay? People who are making comments. I'm not. When I come here, Dennis or on the Costa show, in the case of Boakai Camara, they choose what topic, they choose what question, and will answer the question. So I don't choose what to talk about, and I want you to know in the live feed that I can talk, and I love to talk and promote my brother. But they accuse me of not promoting my brother when this topic is not about my brother. Okay, so I want to report that out there to them, let them understand that's how it works in the show business. I don't choose what to talk. Okay, now my parting comment. I think tonight.
Nobody party.
No party comment.
In my view, tonight, Henry raised some fundamental issues.
Listen, let me no. Dennis, I can't. No. This man will now raise issues and depart. If he's departing, let him just go right now.
I'm not raising new issues.
He will not make accusations and then leave.
Okay,
just don't leave that all. When you speaking, don't leave. Just stay up for 15 minutes.
I will choose different choice of word. Okay. Let me repeat some of the things. Let me repeat some of the things Dennis have said. So that one, I'm not raising issue. I'm just repeating what Dennis have said. Or if I may, let me repeat some of the things Costa said. You know, Costa talk about why and how the CPB, the strategy that was involved led to the breakout of the CPP. Costa talk about even the alternative strategy that was planned behind the scene by Ambassador Boakai to Benin Ure. Costa talk about meeting Ambassador Boakai and saying, Ambassador Boakai, we have been on this struggle for many years now. If you bring in Jeremiah Kuhn and Prince Johnson, I'm out. I'm not going to support you. He allegedly said that to Boakai according to him in the press conference. So some of these things we're talking, if it is true that Costa did say to Boakai that if you go this route, this is the action I will take. I think if it is true now, and that's a big if, it is to his credit. For once, even if you didn't believe him on other issues, but he's standing up on this one, that, hey, I too have a political position. Those who say opposition unity, those who say, oh, we just want we are out. Yes, I want we are out. But who replaces we are is just equally important. To say we can replace we are with a sort of version of we are is unacceptable. To say we can replace we are with a version that is probably more like we are or more than we are, then it's unacceptable. So we agree, we are must go. But who should replace we are? So there's a different set of debate we can have in the opposition. Okay? And I think there's no agreement on that. Who should replace we are? Never mind whatever scientific, unscientific opinion pool people may be talking about, call in and what have you, self-selected pool and what have you. Never mind that. We can debate this. So I think we talk about some of these issues, and I hope the guys who are defenders of Joe Boakai maybe they will learn or tell Ambassador Boakai, 2 things happened to you so far. We still got 3 months to go. You met Alexander Cummings, you merged out of that meeting without a transcript. You met Costa / business partner, you merged that meeting without a transcript.
Mr. Gongo,
Mr.
Gongo, you sent us this picture.
Yeah.
You say, which is your evidence that they met in Ghana.
Yeah.
So I want you to speak to this photo.
So I mean, I don't speak to the picture. I talk about the match in Ghana. So it's just the truth.
Right. But you sent us this picture has proof. So I want you to be able to speak to it.
It's the evidence that they did meet in Ghana. That's the photo right there.
So how do we know this is Ghana?
Okay, now so that's why we're not going to debate this. That's why it's important for Alex Cummings and Boakai to speak.
So then you just put a picture when they make any proof that the pictures from Ghana.
Why both of them are not talking?
He said this at the beginning that he was sending it as a proof. Yeah. So and he's mentioned it, so I don't want him to run away from it.
No. So Morris is saying, I'm not CIA to go to see whether this is Islamabad, this is where Osama bin Laden is living. I don't have that capacity.
But you have a photo, you just show a photo. So imagine if I took a picture.
But this was floating actually on the.
Yeah, so Morris, can you dispute that, or you can talk to it again?
No, it's like hearing Costa allegations that he's making. I can't just take a picture of Dennis
Jai. So the problem
is Dennis Jai in Philadelphia. I saw him in Philadelphia.
I can still say I was in Philadelphia.
Morris, it boils down.
Nothing precludes me from saying that.
If you leave meeting and you as a leader, you call yourself corporate executive in the case of Alexander Cummings. Boakai is a former vice president of Liberia. You leave meeting without transcript, without even your press, George Sa addressing the public to say, yes, there was a meeting and here is what was discussed. Even without disclosing the entirety of the discussion, but to just allay the rumor in the public, you continue to create this kind of misinformation. Now, you challenge whether this is Ghana. Somebody can say, well, even whether this is on planet Earth, maybe it's on Pluto or it's on Mars. So we can challenge all that. So the point is, our leaders should learn to take records, particularly leaders who have this record for 42 years of public service, corporate executive. So that's the point I'm making here. So these 2 cardinal issues. I hope you guys can advise Ambassador Boakai. He should learn to have transcript.
Hold on, Mario. Hold on. Thank you.
I will see you guys.
The next picture.
I want to tell you.
The next picture that I will post of Councillor Gonglo on Facebook.
I'll show tomorrow.
The next picture I will post of Councillor Gonglo on Facebook. I will say where Councillor Gonglo took that picture, and I'll make my story about it. And then the
my phone is running. It's about to die, so I let me talk.
You just run from problem to problem. That's all.
Right. Let me bring
I thought I really thought you sympathize with me and my desire to be on here. I didn't know you make it fun, but I'm struggling with them.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I wanted to make some clarification because Dennis asked this question.
You say your phone is dying because we have one caller that I wanted to bring on, and then we can conclude.
Yeah, but how will people raise questions that are left unanswered? They bring caller on. You ask a question when he found himself in that meeting over there. What did he do? You know, this and that, and I had some little. I can shed some light on that.
That was not my question. Really, the first thing was he knew what this meeting was about, yet he went there. Right? Because they were, according to Henry Costa, he told him
didn't know all. He knew about people who were bringing.
What did he know?
Oh, he knew that there were people who, I mean, Costa comes in and say, oh, they had investors. You can meet investors, definitely. The thing is what you reject. No, listen.
Here is 30 million for Costa to run. Costa said, yes, this is a good.
No.
That is
no. You got it wrong.
That's what Costa said.
No, that is.
He brought 30 million for Costa to run, and he said, this is perfect. This is a golden opportunity. But because I'm loyal to Boakai, not the country, I'm going to divert this thing. Please give it to Boakai. And he said he informed Boakai about it.
Well, thank you. But Boakai got there before all those things happened. Boakai was invited there, there were investors, the nature, and Costa was not in any of these meetings. First, let me tell you, in Ghana. Costa was not in Ghana. Costa was never on a flight with Ambassador Boakai to Ghana or from Ghana. Costa was sitting right here, Delaware, USA, for that particular meeting, as far as I know. Okay, because I'm told he was supposed to be there later on, because I was like, oh, but Costa's supposed to be here. So, oh yeah, we were running after a green car and whatsoever, this and that, so he couldn't go fast. They said something like that. But the point, I'm not even seeing any of those things as an offense, whether he was there, whether he was not there. It's not an issue. The idea is you are called to something well-intended. You know, people can kind of pretend on all this media. Tier 1 Gonglo has lots of meetings that he will not come out and announce. People can be honest or dishonest. That's not my worry. A lot of political leaders have meetings all over the globe. It's not every one of them they come and announce. And they are entitled to that. They can't talk about he having, how do you call them? He having taxpayer money, this and that. He already worked for what he's being paid. It was written. When you serve, you are entitled to that. Okay? That's what he's getting. He's not in service right now. He doesn't make any decision on any of your financial issues. He doesn't decide anything about the country's direction. He is a private citizen. Yes, he wants to run. If he goes to a meeting and doesn't inform you, and you take that as a basis of not voting for him, that's your choice. But there is no law that he's supposed to come and report to you. He determines which meetings are important for you to hear and which are not based on his strategy. So
Thank you.
People always like to take the discretion people have that they use from other people. So lastly, when Boakai, as a patriot, as this icon of honesty, got the detail and the nature of the meeting, he left those people and walked out on them and never returned.
Right.
Telling them he will come back, he was on his way to Liberia. That's something he
what
couldn't.
Was his condition for turning this down? Was it because he didn't want Costa as vice president?
Firstly, there are many things wrong with it. He didn't specifically, I haven't talked to him to tell me specifically, right. But when it happened at the time, hello?
So you don't know why he turned it down? He's not going
no, I have secondary information. Number one, it was illegal. Number two, there was no point where he promised anybody anything. He turned it, he walked away. It was very suspicious. You listen to Jojo. It was a whole, we call it Fiamomo stuff that apparently Costa had been caught into, and JMB left unceremoniously.
Thank you.
That's not something he will bow down to.
Thank you. If you just joined us, this is Between the Headlines. And if you want to join the conversation, we have 15 more minutes to close. call 605-313-6004. The code is 791-03#. And we have the first caller on the line. The first caller is Elvis Morris. Elvis, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Jar, and hello to the panelists. It's unfortunate that Mr. Gonglo left, but I want to say this. I think I don't agree with JMB much, but I agree with him on one choice that he made. I think he was right in not picking Henry Costa as the vice president. He would have been a political liability for him. But in that same breath, he also picked the wrong person in coma as well. But one thing that Mr. Kesley said that I agree with, and I was going to look that point, it was illegal. This whole meeting, the fact that the meeting even happened, is some gray area there that he can even be investigated by the government. If you are a private citizen, you can't negotiate or even hold meetings with, on issues that have to do with the national resources of the country. He should have shut that meeting down. Probably once Costa brought it up, you just say, okay, I will meet with the people when you don't even know what the meeting is about. For somebody who is as wise as people claim JMB to be, he should have known at least the crux of the intention of the meeting, and then say, okay, I will go get to see. So if people say, oh, there are some people who want to talk to you when investing in the country, when you become president, what if you would have accepted that investment and he didn't win the presidency? How was he going to pay it back? Or was it going to be only contingent upon if he won the presidency, and then you will have to pay the money back, or they will have to get their investment back in some kind, whether it's through concessions or whatever. The reality is, I said this is bad, Mr. Bunker, because I want to use his parable. If somebody like JMB who is not corrupt, but is surrounded by people who are corrupt, people who are putting together illicit deals to get money. One of the things in America, in this very country, they can stop you from running for president if you don't get no money, because they know that you can get compromised based on your lack of money. And that's one of the things that Costa stressed in the press conference, that JMB have money issues when it comes to his campaigning. And that's why he even thought that this would be a good idea, because the campaign is struggling for money to run their campaign. So any big Tom or Harry that comes around, they're going to give him some credence to hear what they got to say, because they desperately need money.
Thank you.
And that's his problem. And that's why he finds himself in a lot of trouble with unscrupulous character, because he thinks he can benefit from them financially to help run his campaign. So when talking about if Joseph Boakai is a clean hands man, no way, no how. If your son is hanging around drug dealers, you better be sure that your son is probably dealing drugs. If he's corrupt, if he's hanging around corrupt people, it's more than likely he's been involved in some corrupt deals. Thank you for taking my call. I'll leave it.
Thank you. Before you respond, let me add a few comments here. This one is from Admin Salif. He said, Morris, the people say your candidate is old, he's sick, and therefore can't run the country. Yet you keep calling the candidate the old man, the old man. You are helping and reinforcing the opponent's claims. As Olofomi Adams said, just look at Labro, who in their right mind will offer an unaccompanied person $30 million for an election that is unpredictable. Sam Wallow, the key question you should all want to know, but no one is asking that question, and that is, who are those investors? Gretchen said BM and money hustler like Costa will refuse $30 million. Gretchen is not amused. Ahmed again, investors in what? Why would someone offer $30 million for someone to run for president outside our campaign finance laws? What's in it for the alleged investors? And other people are saying, what was Mr. Boakai thinking, even entertaining that thought? All right, those are the few comments there, and then the colors. Maurice, you'll respond, and then Mr. Kessley.
I think Kezo spoke to most of the issue regard to the trip in Ghana and the woman walking away from the room, just knowing that some of the discussion in the room regarding the 30 million was illegal, and so walk away and didn't come back to it. But I mean, ideally, I think we cover most of the issues that were discussed in the thing, and Elvis, discussion about having someone that has been corrupt and have the person be in the room if the president is corrupt, that if you hang out with corrupt people, that means you're corrupt. I mean, I'm not sure about that one. There are people that have worked for government for so many years that don't have any history of corruption. I mean, you can have a whole room filled with corrupt people. You can have a corrupt culture. And Liberia is an example. You have a corrupt culture in Liberia. That doesn't mean every Liberian is corrupt. I would not, subscribe to that belief that every Liberian is corrupt. Same thing with Nigeria. You can't say because there is, chronic culture of corruption in Nigeria, that means every Nigerian is corrupt. There are people who mean well, who wants to do well by the state, who wants to do well just because of legacy. They want to keep a legacy that the country can remember forever. And there are those people who want to do well in that kind of society. I think Ambassador Boakai is one of them. And so, Ahmed Salih's position about me calling him the old man is out of endearment. He's an elderly man that is like my father. I wouldn't want to describe him in any way rather than call him an old man because it's an endearment. It's sort of respect to someone of his character. I wouldn't want to describe him in a way that just calling Joseph Boakai by his name or, any other way. That's the reason why I'm calling him the old man. It's just out of respect. I think, for me, those are the responses that I have.
Thank you. Mr. Kesseley.
Well, thank you. I didn't get much. I'm in double trouble here. My phone, the place I plug the earpiece is where the phone charges. It's an iPhone. And it has totally discharged. So I'm struggling between plugging it, charging it a little bit, and then taking it to talk. All right. I think Maurice covered pretty much all. You can see that those who will fault Ambassador Boakai about attending the meeting with a criminal, I don't know who all they're calling criminals or whatsoever. And Liberians feel that if they feel Maurice has offended them and Maurice is a rogue, they feel that you are already guilty. You don't deserve any trial. You should be accepted as guilty. So their perception of Costa before makes him a criminal, a blackmailer, a what? We didn't see him as that at the time. You see, you have to prove yourself when you are interacting with people. You are not prejudged. And that's what most people would want. Some people talk about if you're in America, you not get money, they will stop you. That is actually far from the truth. You got requirements. You meet those requirements. Well, some of the requirements, what it entails. You have to have some money. But if you don't meet those requirements, you cannot run. The requirements are across the board. It just doesn't victimize one person who doesn't have money. So Joe Boakai doesn't have money, but he came second place with all the other odds against him 2017. He still ran his campaign. He's running his campaign right now. He doesn't have the money.
What is this thing with Joe Boakai and money? He doesn't have money?
Yeah. Because if he really wanted to have money, he would be richer than Cummings. He would have been richer than George Weah, even from George Weah's soccer day. He would have been richer before George Weah became rich. If that was his intent in life, because he got sacked in many places where money flowed. LPMC coffee, purchasing estate in Vonjama. At that time, those days, at the height of the coffee boom, he will have converted a lot to himself. LPRC.
That's another story to say the only way you will have money is when you steal money. I don't buy that. But every day, this Joe Boakai is crying, poor mom, that.
No, but Dennis, if you spend your whole life as a public servant, you serve in the public, and most of your work history is around public service, it's not about amassing wealth. It's not about accumulating wealth.
I'm talking
giving back to society, and I think he has done that significantly.
I'm talking about being able to rent Airbnb on your own. I'm not talking about amassing wealth. But every time people talk about, okay, we pay for his food, we pay for this, we rent an Airbnb, we pay for his air ticket. So I mean, why is he struggling with money issue, even for personal things?
So somebody who say that they pay money for air ticket and they pay, they pay for Airbnb are the people now that are making these claims that because there's no money. But here's the man that running around in Liberia is running campaign. He just went through 4 cities with bunch of cars and he went through all these different cities around the country to deliver a message. Who's paying for it? I wonder that those people that are making the same claim that they rented Airbnb and bought a ticket.
We don't know. We don't know.
Okay.
That's why we want him to speak to these allegations. But you say he shouldn't. But
you reappear. We're coming this night. I think we reappear, Calabo.
I'm on a meeting with.
Let's draw down the curtains now. We want to get your closing.
Yeah.
I'm using earpiece. I just want to make a quick comment here on.
No, we want to close now. You can wrap that up in your closing comment.
Okay, so basically, this whole argument of somebody not having money because they're not corrupt. I think we have to look at it on the merit to reflect the kind of life the person has lived. I'm not suggesting here.
I was addressing that before my phone went off. I will come back to that. Calabo should not say and run away again. I will end. I was in my explanation.
So at least I made my contribution in the meeting, and I'm still on the meeting with
so you here now for good.
Oh, the talk show is almost over.
We're not finishing right now. All right, go ahead. Conclude.
No, let him finish, Mr. Kosali. I know you are very active tonight.
No,
I said conclude. Conclude.
Okay, so no, I made my parting comment earlier. I was just trying to make that quite.
Is this your return comment?
There are many reasons why people will work either 60 years or 50 years and still don't have money. In the United States, we can give reason why, right? At least when you work here, at the level we work,
it's a comparison. Don't compare United States and Liberia.
You don't have that chance of stealing anything or doing anything because of the way the system is set up.
It's
people at the top may have that opportunity, but in the case of Liberia, there are many reasons. Maybe you come from a large family and you are a person who help, who do all that stuff. That's one possible reason. It also depends on your perspective on life. Some people are wealth-seeking people in life, so they believe in accumulation. Others don't, and others just feel that, hey, we live here and we are gone. So whatever I get, if I can put a smile on somebody's face today, that's enough. So there are many reasons. But to say someone is broke because the person is not corrupt, I don't think that's entirely true. There are people who stolen from government during Dotan, and that Anthony Cassidy was an activist. I in his prime, that some of these people, when Doe government fell, they went broke. We saw some of them walking in the 1990s. We saw some of them in Monrovia. We all went Johnson Street, right down Johnson Street Market to buy or looted things to go put in our houses. So, and we're like, these are the ministers that were over there. We all on the same, all buying looted things in the market. They were broke, So there are many reasons why. So let's deal with each person on the merits of their character and their history.
Can I ask you a quick question before you go?
Hold on, Morris.
I just want to ask you one question before you go.
Hold on, Morris. Hold on. Let me advertise here. Tomorrow, we have the Liberia History Channel at 7 p.m. The topic will be discussing who are the natives of Liberia. There's a lot of talk about everybody migrating to Liberia. Is it true? Do we have people that are native to the area? Did people like the Grebo people, did they come from wherever they came from, started speaking? Now we are, or did that now we are developed while they were there? We want to look at all this. Please watch the History Channel. That will be tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for the discussion tonight. At this time, I will be getting your parting comments so that we can close the broadcast.
So you want me to ask Caleb my question before we talk about parting comments?
My man, you already parted.
No, I haven't said anything. I just want to ask you a question. The comment
ask you a question.
Yeah, ask your question. Kezo, can you
ask you off the line too?
Kezo, you are muted. You are muted, Kezo.
Go ahead.
Kezo's struggling with technology.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Morris. Ask your question quickly so we can close.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, we're hearing you. Morris, go ahead. Ask your question.
No, I just wanted to ask Caleb about how long his brother has been in public service. And if JB wins the election in 2023 and he gets offered another public service position, would that extend his public service life?
Let us now. That is how is that relevant to the discussion?
Because he made this analogy about people that work in public service for long and they're not being rich, not because they didn't get money, but because they got broke and they bought looted properties.
No, Morris, maybe you didn't get me clear. I said there are many reasons why people can work for service and even go. Not necessarily that they were.
Calabo, we got your point. It's case by case basis.
Okay.
I want us to conclude.
Fair enough.
Yeah, let us conclude. All of you want a 1 hour show. How come you don't want to leave? So let me start with Mr. Casale with your parting comments. Mr. Casale, your closing comments.
Listen now. I don't know. Okay, let me go.
Kazo problem has returned.
Your problem returned, Kazo.
Are you getting me?
Not clearly.
Kazo, your problem returned.
Okay, then let me do this. I will plug this thing in, but I don't know whether it will go up because
let's try that.
If it does, I beg, please call me on the line.
Okay.
No, the show will end, Kazo will not call you. The show will end.
Yeah, you can actually say that because when I had the flow,
go ahead.
I had the flow.
So your audio is very clear right now. Go right ahead.
Yeah, it's this thing, but then the phone is not charged, so it might cut off.
Don't take too long.
Yeah,
go to your point.
Yeah, because I was cut off. I was trying to say something. I have three. All of them are failing me. You see this? You see this? I got several outlets. Just when bad luck can, it just come. Anyway, again, let me just go a little bit into what Caleb just referred to, putting this doubt over when people are broke. It doesn't mean they were this and that. The mantra of the Gonglo camp is that Gonglo doesn't have money. Gonglo hasn't stolen money. He's getting people bringing in money. He doesn't have money. People say Joseph Boakai spent 40 this year, 50 years, this and that. If you sit down to count it, Joseph Boakai has now spent more than 30 years in government service. But some people feel, 1980 something, he was there, and to today, so that 45 years. That means since Joseph Boakai jumped, he joined government, he never left anymore. He just been there, so he spent 45 years. So that's the calculation they do. He has now spent actual 30 years in government service. And two, he has not gone to anybody to borrow money to educate his children. He lives in a comfortable house. He manages himself. So, I mean, I don't know. When we talk about these undertakings, he's not somebody who has excess money. He's not counted. I saw some people that label him as one of the richest men, these people, they can overplay their hands. You lie so much, when you lie, even the little child say, oh God, that's a lie, But what I'm trying to say is that this issue we are here to discuss today,
It's about a misstep that Mr. Costa made. I can say it over and over. It will affect him in the long term. They can be in denial, they can insult us and say all sorts of things. But all that you say, I say story about, you told me we're going to come to Wologizi place. Those are things Costa said in a place that he was not. He said he was told. People should remember, Costa didn't say he was sitting there. And Joseph Boakai, he said Joseph Boakai far behind him. And when he was sitting here in America, he was not there. He said this is what he was told. But the question I have for all Liberians is this. Somebody brings 30 million and sees in you the ability to invest their 30 million in you to run as president. Then you do that kind-hearted transfer of that offer to your uncle. Instead of your uncle repaying you in kind, you say your uncle went behind you and stabbed you in the back. The question remains, your uncle has betrayed you. So your offer to him is dead. Why didn't Costa take his 30 million and just proceed with the plan the investors brought for him to come run? April, Joseph Boakai had named his running mate. From that to now, all we hear from Costa is, I will speak 2 weeks from now. I will speak 3 weeks from now. I will speak shortly. If I speak, the country will shake. Why couldn't you keep quiet, disassociate yourself from Joseph Boakai, go take your 30 million that these investors brought, and you'll run? So that question tells you how fictitious his whole explanation was. I mean, it's just common knowledge.
Because investors actually say they get data. They say the data is because I want to give you 30 million. Because
they will make him to win. They will tell everything, Now, what I tell the Liberian people today is this. If Mr. Henry Pedro Costa had been chosen by Joseph Boakai would still be a small god for him today. Okay? He will have still been worshipped, revered, honored. So this whole tantrum, juvenile tantrum, is simply about this man with this exploded ambition who felt he was entitled. Well, I didn't tell you that before Costa left for Liberia, Costa placed a call with me. He placed a call with me to try to convince me about his viability of vice president. So when he sits over there that he didn't know anything about it and that people came and told him and this and that, it's untrue. He called me, we stayed on the line for almost an hour. He placed the call. I will go back home. I will be political leader for ALP, and I will rebrand myself. The money, the first installment of 10 million when it comes, all the United Party people that are against me, when we start spending the money, all the things they're doing by themselves, we start paying for it, we get the vehicles. This is Costa's conversation with me on his phone call to me.
Breaking news.
But I've said this before. Costa called me. So, in essence, I told him frankly what I felt. We're being mobilized for your senatorial bid.
Is this really a closing statement or a new argument?
Mr.
breaking news all coming in.
That divine revelation from Costa.
I'm saying on the public platform, Caleb, if you want to be so much a worshiper of Costa that you want to talk about our private conversation, you can ask Costa this question. People were there when he put me on there.
No.
Later I realized, listen.
Yes, I would never talk about you.
Mr. Kasale, I'm muted.
You have taken your research, you go, you come back. Yes.
Please conclude. You have 30 seconds. Please conclude your closing
comment. I thought this terrible man would not be here to disturb us anymore. But in essence, what I'm trying to tell you is that the whole story is a turtle and spider story. The boy is angry because he was not picked. And there are many portions of the narrative, that call to me, that pleading, that he's going, what he said in that conversation to me did not suggest anywhere that Joseph Boakai had promised him the vice presidency. He was lobbying.
Thank you.
Okay. And
Thank
no,
you.
listen, let me conclude on this. Let me
No,
conclude
please.
on this. I beg you. Hey, just 1 minute, 1 second. Okay.
Go ahead.
Hello.
5 seconds.
Okay. He said Joseph Boakai cut off from him. From that point, I can attest to a call Joseph Boakai plays with him. He said the message midnight text message to say Mokanto. Before that, they had talked. Joseph Boakai plays the call. After Nyombli endorsement, we also all the old man took a phone and texted him that it needed for them to sit down and talk. Costa refused to acknowledge that call. And when Mo Ali or other people call him, he said he's not going to respond. He doesn't want to talk to the man. And he come and sit here and say the old man called. Even today, he called the old man. I will call old man. You know how many people call me old man and papi? Those are respectable designations. He called the old man today. He responded to that text today. That old man, I know, will speak to him. Even with all these things he has done. That's the nature of Joseph Boakai that I know. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Calabo Gonglo, you're closing.
Your second closing, please.
All right. Mr. Kroma, you're closing.
Thank you, Caleb. Thank you, Dennis, for the show tonight. It's been a really healthy exchange, and I always admire my big brother Kazo when he comes.
If you please mute me, let me be charging the phone. I beg you.
I am always I walk in Brazil shadow because he's a man of wisdom, and he has fought many battles. I remember just as a young man in Philadelphia with the EULA and all of the battles that Kazo used to fight. We're very young at the time, but I admire how much he stood against some of the people that that were trying to fight him at that time. Including you, somebody like you, Dennis, all of y'all fighting that time. But yeah,
because they had a EULA dress system that we tried to finish.
Yeah, I remember that. So I always walk in President Shadow. I enjoy his temperament, his resilience. It's something that I wish I can emulate. It's been great. I'm always excited to come on here and talk about the issues that affect our country. I appreciate the time, man.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank our viewers for watching. Thank you, Mr. Keseli. Thank you, Mr. Gonglo.
Thank you. I'm hearing you. Thank you very much.
Right. We will now close the broadcast with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." We want to thank our viewers. Even those who will watch later, we say thank you. Keep following us. By far, this is the best since 1822. And you can take that to the bank.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night now, and God bless you. We are all Liberians.
We are Liberians.